All right, and we're live. Roy, how's it going, my friend?
Going well. It feels like it's been a week since we've hung out together. Wait, it has. So
It
quite a lot
has.
has happened. My apologies to everyone for missing the Friday show and, of course, the planned stock tick episode. That was something that arose on my end. Family comes first, and in that case, it meant taking from Thursday all the way through Saturday at midnight. So, but it's all taken care of. Glad to be here. Had some time on the long commute as well to do a lot of looking at the market. And there's been a lot of news, Tevis. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm glad to be doing my day was like full of meetings today. And so this podcast was what I was looking forward to all day. I got a coffee crisp here because I'm not on energy drinks this month. So I'll have that later. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to be here.
Speaking of which, I'll pop open the top of my Alani Nu, the cotton candy. So it's good.
Yeah.
W Pickens, thank you for the 5 jewels. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to be back. This is one of those. I got a lot of highlights in my week. Life is pretty good overall. But this is certainly one of them. It's the highlight from Monday. Always really like hanging out with you and with our audience as well. So, of course, today, since it's Bootleg Weekly, we have a number of topics that we're going to hit, in addition to Q&A as well. So I said, will I talk about air? If you have some questions about air, put it in the comments. That way, Tevis here can bookmark them and we can hit those in Q&A. What we're going to be talking about today is a lot of news. So GTA 6 leaks, which does, yes, have an impact on the market. Tevis, you're going to take the lead on that one. A lot of what I want to talk about today, and I've been like nerding out on this a little bit too, is the stuff with the bonds. Like, did the United States declare war on bonds? Because there's some like crazy weird stuff, whether it will be effective or not, what might be the impacts of some of the moves that they're trying to do, and also the impact on the market as well. We're going to talk some NVDA and Perplexity news. And you mentioned some Netflix. I didn't see the news there. Meta trial is ongoing, Trump versus Canada, and a whole lot more as well. Of
We
course,
got a busy
Pelosi as well. Yeah. So, Tevis, where do you want to start?
a dealer's choice, man.
Let's start with the only news that I really don't care that much about, and but maybe you can fascinate me, and that's a GTA 6 Rockstar stuff. So you want to tell us a little bit of what's going on there, and if it has any impact as far as anything on the market. Then we'll talk about bonds, crypto, and the United States declaring war on things.
Yeah. Okay. So GTA, this was honestly, man, one of my favorite news of the week. So essentially, there was this leak of GTA 6's trailer, and there was this individual or group of individuals called CyberLeak, spelled Leek, by the way, not Leak. And I'll throw it up. They have a really cute mascot and everything. But here, get it? Because it's a leak. Okay, let me sort of read through this because this is, I think, a good summary. Okay, Rockstar has reportedly put everything else on hold as they now are hunting down this individual or group of individuals. There's been no updates on Red Dead Online, GTA Online. Rockstar hasn't posted or responded since CyberLeak appeared. Most now believe CyberLeak is a group, not a single person. Take-Two, the parent company, has taken legal action against both Microsoft and Discord, Roy, to help identify those involved. And we'll talk about that implication because this is a big one right here. White hat hackers, these are like hackers for good, are reportedly being paid substantial amounts to assist with the investigation. The main goal is believed to be identifying who this person is or this group is before August 27th. Why? Well, because Netflix has this 6-hour long trailer, essentially gameplay that they're what do you call it? Showcasing on August 27th. And Netflix obviously paid money for that exclusivity to be able to view that. And this is really stepping in the way. I said here, I feel like there's a social arb trade. Not sure what it is yet or in what direction. Is it all good press or all press is good press for Take-Two? Or is Take-Two, in fact, going to be going lower as a result of these leaks? Now, there's a couple of other implications here that I want to talk about. And the first one is the Microsoft and Discord component of it, because essentially Take-Two put pressure on Microsoft and Discord in the hunt for this leaker. And this is what they're doing. Take-Two just got court approval to pull personal information, emails, phone numbers, IPs, device IDs from about 100,000 Discord users across multiple servers. Most of those people are complete bystanders who had nothing to do with these leaks. And so you're having Discord get turned into this like mass surveillance tool, essentially, where they get handed over all of this personal data because Take-Two wants to protect their IP. And I mean, that's one component of it, which is really interesting, is like, okay, where do we, go from here, essentially? But the other component is that, so this cyber leak, to the best of my knowledge, one of the demands that they had was in protest to Take-Two not releasing this game on CD. They only wanted to release it on digital. And basically, let me see if I can find the article, actually. CyberLeak said, I'm going to leak the full game, the entire game in full, if these guys don't comply.
The kill switch.
The kill switch. And the interesting part there would be it forces Take-Two to basically release the game, months ahead of schedule. There's a ton of people that have pre-ordered this game already. And then people are saying like, hey, this is not, this is not genuine leaks. This is AI, or this is footage from other trailers. So there was a CyberLeak coin, and CyberLeak just burned all his dev coins. This was worth over $1 million in value. And he just burned all the dev coins to prove essentially they're not doing it for the money. And
wow.
Yeah, I think Rockstar is in a interesting situation here. I mean, look, on one side of it is you're obviously sad for the developers who spent a decade working on this game and they can't, profit off of it, or they can't showcase it in the way that they had because of these leaks. Rockstar historically has had incredibly poor security. I mean, I think the last GTA also leaked. I think Red Dead also leaked. But essentially, this leaker now, Roy, is threatening to release playable builds of GTA 6. And the interesting part is they've said that they've uploaded copies of this game to servers around the world. And if anything were to happen to him within 24 hours, it automatically releases the game.
Yeah. Yeah, the kill switch thing there. Yeah.
Pure drama.
So I know you don't have a Take-Two position. Some people do. If you're forced to, Tevis, because you were kind of like thinking about implications, we're investors, would you go long or short on Take-Two? I know you're not going to, but just hypothetically, forced to make a decision.
Hypothetically, I think this is short-term bearish Take-Two. And the reason is because, yes, I understand that this is all hype and ultimately the game might be released as intended. But if in fact this is not all hype, and if there are some truths here, let's call it, if Rockstar's hand is forced in this entire fiasco, then they're going to be forced to release this game at the end of August, when they were planning to release it in November. That's 2 months of hype, anticipation, of PR, all of these things that they're doing on Netflix, for example. That's all marketing for the game that they won't have the ability to do because the game, like, their hand is forced. They're forced on pulling the trigger on releasing that game. So I think that's going to be net bearish for Take-Two. Now, you could argue that this is just causing way more buzz onto this game coming out than was there before, because you have a layer of controversy, which is all, it's the stuff of virality is controversy. And you can take it as bullish. We, of course, don't know just how impressive the game will be, technically speaking, because we haven't seen, playable builds. That's what we're going to see in the Netflix debut on August 27th. And that could be a catalyst to say, wow, this is actually way more impressive than what was initially thought. Take-Two is undervalued here, but I think it's going to be the opposite, man. I think all of this stuff Take-Two being held hostage essentially, and them focusing so much of their resources to catch this leaker is going to be taking away from efforts that they would have had on launching this game. And because there's so much anticipation and so many pre-orders and just so much hype overall around this game, I think a lot of it is priced to perfection, but that's just me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played GTA since the original, so that's how old I am. But as far as like all these leaks and everything, like the hard thing is, it kind of, I don't know that right now it does anything. Like I'd be more neutral in the stock, but obviously, if the game is leaked massively, there's still going to be buyers and everything. But it does take away a little bit of the hype, and so hopefully for the company and for the developers and everything, that isn't done. I would push back against like CyberLeak saying, "Oh, it's not being done for the money." I mean, yeah, he burnt that, but he also I saw something where it was like, "Hey, give me $100,000 or something like that for basically the data that he has and a lot more screenshots and video trailers and everything." Somebody will probably pay that at some point. So like he is, I wouldn't say like doing this out of the kindness or goodness of his heart, but. Yeah, if I was forced to take a position, long or short, I would probably say short, but I'm not confident in that. And thankfully, I don't have to have an opinion.
Yeah, you don't. I also just want to respond very quickly to this comment. Why would they release the game early? Well, if in fact this does get, go to the nuclear option, let's call it the very worst case scenario, and the full playable build is released and free for download for everybody, would you want to release the game immediately after, or would you want to wait, 2 or 3 more months and then release it at that point? This is why I'm saying Take-Two would be forced to action to release the game because it already exists for free out there in the wild. And yes, they would be cracking down on people who try to download it and this. But I think, Roy, if in fact Take-Two has gone to so drastic measures as to sequester personal identifiable information from Discord and from Microsoft to try to identify this guy, like they're A, taking this seriously, and they're B, sticking a lot of resources onto this specifically. So if it was just, hey, we're going to pay a $100,000 ransom or a $1 million ransom or whatever the case may be, and they thought it would stop at that, they might have done that already, because what they're doing right now shows like is burning even more resources than this individual or this group would have requested, let's call it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Very interesting. And thank you, Nepal, for your for the membership. Be sure to check out some of the member-only content that I did, including on Credo recently, if that would interest you guys. So,
yeah, that game is releasing early. Yeah, I mean, look, we're gonna know by the end of August. I think this stuff is not going to be dragging out. I think we're going to know in the next couple of weeks if it does or it doesn't. And I'm pretty excited, man. I mean, like, this is, I get the same feeling about this than as I got about the Leopold drama. Like, this is just drama. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what happens.
Yep, it's entertaining for sure. Let's talk then bonds. I think that's the big topic of what's hitting the market, what's interesting the market as well. There's a lot of stuff. So I don't know if you saw the clip by Trump that seemed like that the United States military was declaring war on bonds.
No,
did you see that from last week?
I've seen very little on bonds, so maybe you can lead this discussion.
Let me see if I can find the clip right quick. But it was this is crazy. So some people are like, hey, it's taken out of context, which I don't think it is. I think it could be that he was confused on the question or thinking of two different things. This is weird. And then we're going to talk about, of course, with BESSENT.
To intervene in the bond market?
No, not at all. No, he's a very capable man. He wanted to do it. He's very good at it. He has a good touch, very good natural touch for the bonds and interest. And he did that, yeah.
So that was on BESSENT and intervention in the bond market. And then the very next question, like, can you hear this? Is it loud enough?
If you can turn it up, that's great. But if not, that's fine.
I don't think I can. So
yields have come back up since then. Have you talked to him about another type of intervention? Is that something he will be doing?
We have many types of intervention. That's one. The ultimate intervention is our military. And if we have to use that, we will.
You you do?
The ultimate intervention in the context of bonds is the military. If we have to use it, we will. Are we threatening to attack countries overseas if they sell U.S. bonds or don't buy them at certain rates? I don't think so. But what in the world, Tevis?
I think this is in context of their stance with Iran, right? Where they were saying like, hey, if we find that there's any countries that are doing business essentially with Iran, like you're not going to be doing business with the US. I think that's the train of thought. But again, I mean, he's got a light touch with bonds. Like, do you even know what a bond is, my man? Like, I don't know.
It's the thing that's keeping the United States going, because apparently we can never have a balanced budget ever again. So that's like ultimately. So more interestingly, of course, is the buyback program of what's happening. And the problem is, if we weren't running a deficit, great, we would be able to buy back, and that would be nice. What instead is happening is I think a couple of things. So obviously they talked about the Treasury possibly intervening in the bond market. For right now, it seems like that's on pause, but that could happen in September. And we've seen just a little bit of softness in terms of the rates from the peak here when it was at 5.3. You don't want to see it above 5. You don't want to see it above 4 either. But all the yields are down just a little bit today, except for just some very selective short term. It sounds like to me what they will be doing more than anything is swapping maturities on bonds. And this has been done before under Kennedy. It's been done before more recently under Ben Bernanke, although it was the opposite of the Operation Twist. And the problem is, like, this is something that it can have a little bit of effect, but the biggest driver is, of course, the supply-demand economics. And so when you have an insane amount of bonds that you have to sell to keep your government going, all of a sudden, those rates are going to tick up. And so that's not good for a whole lot of people, but for some reason the big beautiful bill and everything, no matter what party it is, nobody wants to get this deficit and this debt under control. And so we're going to blow right past 40 trillion into who knows what. This, it's, do you think, let me say one more thing and then let me see what your thoughts are here. So it feels to me like what more is happening is this is kind of similar to when we saw BESSENT with that little napkin doodle about the yen, they might end up buying some yen. And he wrote down by, a certain range, it was like 5 to 10 billion, which is nothing in yen. And he actually put the symbol, which is funny because this guy, our treasurer, like he was involved actively in that whole yen carry thing. Like he's an expert there. So like he didn't have to write down the ticker symbol. I don't think he needed to make himself a note. And of course there was that classic, I think it was Reuters that captured the image of it and spread it everywhere. I think more than anything, like that was a signal at that point. It's like, hey, I wouldn't be on the other side of this yen thing, because if you are, the United States might intervene. And I think it's maybe that in the bond market more than anything. And that actually psychologically can make an impact if bond traders actually think that this is credible. The problem is it's hard to think that this might be credible just given the insane debt and deficit that we had. You can actually look at the yield on the 5-year and even more prominently the 10-year yield and see where it was actually the weakest or the most attractive from our perspective is when they actually believed that Doge was going to cut back a lot of the government spend. And of course, that's not been the case. So what are your thoughts? Are we just looking at endless debt and this bond thing is just going to keep going to 5, 6, 7, 8%? Then the government cracks? Do we just print our way out of it? What's happening?
Yeah, look, I don't think we can. Like, printing our way out of it is kicking the can down the road, right? And that's fine. I think we're going to do that. We've done that before time and again. We need, like, there's a short-term problem and then there's a long-term problem. And people are always optimizing for the short-term problem because, I mean, look, the pill to swallow for the long-term problem is a much more deeply ingrained change to the way, the world runs right now. And there's so many moving pieces. Like, hey, let's just say we want to start reducing our debt. Well, either we're going to have more growth or we're going to have less spending. And if the US has less spending, let's say, well, then a lot of programs are going to get cut. You're going to have a lot of turmoil. Then you have to look at it from a geopolitical lens, like what happens with all these other nation states that you're competing on, especially with AI and others. So it's not as clear cut because there's different markers that you have to look out for. Like, what does the unemployment rate look like? What does the inflation rate look like? It's something that they're doing to kick the can in the short term. And we are already past 40 trillion. And there's nothing special about the $40 trillion number. It's just a psychological number that people anchor to. I think the predominant thought right now, the prevailing thought is that we can somehow, through AI and productivity unlocks and robotics possibly, grow our way out of this deficit. That is still to be proven. I think that's still, 5 years out at the very, very minimum.
Yeah,
Until
I
that
think
point,
that's the
it
only
makes sense.
solution. I think that's the only solution is to grow our way out. The nice thing is we can at least see from construction what's happening with data centers that is a real percentage, measurable percentage that some people are actually worried about within the GDP, and in some states, like it's a massive amount. But regardless, like you can see some of that. The question is what's on the other side of that as well. Is there more of a GDP impact beyond data centers? Almost certainly, but the question is like how much, and people argue on that.
Well-
the hard thing is like we can't keep spending money like this and try to grow our way out because it's going to be so difficult. Now, related to this, more so than bonds, because we're not bond investors, or at least I don't believe that you are. We are crypto investors. And so around the same time when BESSENT came out and was saying, hey, we're going to look at intervening, that's when crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, a lot of the other altcoins as well, began rocketing. And of course, it could just be a winter rally. The size, the scale of it, now not the duration yet. You have to see a little bit longer than a week. It seems like this is something more than just a crypto winter rally. We had a 6 Sigma event in Bitcoin for the first time ever. So
7
6 standard deviations above, 7 Sigma, thank you. 7 standard deviations above the weekly average. And as a result, like there's a lot of indicators out there that either this is the most violent crypto winter rally ever, maybe, or winter is dead and what killed it was these bond fears, and of course fears of like, hey, and what's interesting too is like Tevis, how much do you think that is this are we still in crypto winter, and B, is this mostly driven by what happened with the bonds? Because that's been one of the bull cases of like holding Bitcoin and other assets like that is like, okay, you can diversify away from the United States dollar, though we haven't really seen those move in a correlated manner over the long term necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the bonds could be one of the reasons. I don't think it's the primary reason. Crypto is fairly cyclical. If you remember, August of last year was exactly when Ethereum had a huge rally upwards, and it continued until September and October, and I think it dropped after that point. And so this could be something very similar, whereby maybe psychological, maybe institutional, you just have a similar cyclicality effect. Crypto in general is very cyclical, right? From the halving cycles and all the way down to the psychology aspect. So it's its own beast. It has its own set of rules that it operates by in terms of inflows and volume. And yes, there are things that we can do to stabilize it from a legislative perspective, like clarity and in international adoption and sovereign states buying to form a higher base, and all of these things are happening, but the cyclicality is going to remain less so, than let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago when it was mostly retail, and probably more so today than it's going to be 5 years from now. But the fact remains that like, hey, this is a cyclical asset. It's going to do what it does, and this is why you have such violent, volatile moves in crypto overall. Now, with regards to the bond piece, look, I think that could be a part of it, right? Because bonds are going to shake the market in the short term. Like we've seen this multiple times, right? With Japan unwinding and Korea and all of it affecting US markets and debt repayments and all the deficit that we're seeing here. If in fact the market buys this narrative that and I think BESSENT put a date of September 8th for the US purchases. I think they said they haven't bought anything right now, but September 8th was going to be or September 7th was going to be the date. But essentially, like, just to finish that previous thought on the bonds, Roy, it's like if you actually sell the narrative that we're going to outgrow this deficit, then it totally makes sense for you to refinance, kick the can down the road, take on more debt now, because if you're treating it like a business, you're in that phase of like, hey, I got to buy inventory, I got to buy equipment, I got to set up everything because I'm going to have growth, and that growth is going to have, a surplus that I can then pay off my debts. AI, robotics can provide that. We had a similar narrative at the beginning of this year and last year with Doge to say, hey, if we actually cut all of these government spending that nobody can track and nobody knows where this money is going, we can reduce the deficit. And it's like, that didn't work. Doge was disbanded, nothing happened. It's like you can't get rich by cutting out avocado toast. You just have to work harder and make more money. That, but on a country scale. And so we're in that phase now of like, hey, in order to avoid a short-term panic and a short-term crash, because everything in the world is so intertwined, in the bond market especially, then we're going to kick the can down the road and we're going to see if that growth narrative actually plays out. Will it? I don't know. A lot of these people, man, who are making these decisions, yes, they're very intelligent. Yes, they're like BESSENT is a billionaire with a B.
Yeah, he's a bright guy.
He's also like, what, 70 years old? Trump is like 80 years old. Like, it's not going to be their problem for a long time, man. Like, I agree that this is not sustainable. I think everybody around you knows that it's not sustainable, but it's almost like we're in a mass state of hysteria. Like, if you don't, let's say, completely turn over all the tables and cause a fuss about it right now, like, people have a generally psychologically more easier time just accepting that the music is going to stop at some point, and it's not today and it's not tomorrow. So who cares? Not who cares, but like, you get what I'm saying. It's not the biggest burning fire for us to handle right now.
Yeah, it should be a lot more pressing than it is, but yeah, I agree with you. They're just kicking the can down the road as much as they can. I think that the growth will probably be there, but that's one of the other interesting things too. Is a big part of that is AI. AI needs data centers, and there's a massive push politically from both sides of the aisle against data centers. Not everybody universally, and it is more one party than the other. But I mean, even still, there's Republicans that are running that are talking about kind of shifting the way that these things are being built out, including, I mentioned it before, here in Texas, even Vivek, although it's more of a balanced and nuanced approach. So like, if that happens, I don't think that it will, but that could actually basically cut our legs out from under us and make it so that this growth narrative is not going to be nearly as pronounced as it was before, because all of a sudden all these data centers are not able to actually operate and give us that inference and that training needs that we actually have, which are massive. And I think we're even underbuilding right now. But yeah, regardless, like, it's just, I wish that we could just not have spent like crazy in non-emergency times. I understand there's times when it's necessary, but man, this is not one of those times. But it is what it is. Regardless, like, if we do see, I do think that BESSENT is very good at this sort of thing where, like, by writing something down, he understands like how psychology works for traders and investors. And I mean, they master manipulative currency too. But I think that there might be some pressure short term on bonds, but I mean, you can't expect it to fall like a significant amount, not unless the market believes something fundamentally shifted. And a big part of that equation is deficit spending. So, but if it does fall short term, that tends to do very well for equity. So hopefully that'll be the case. If yields fall as well, that might translate into some of these senior convertibles and just straight out debt, notes on hyperscalers, and of course, CoreWeave and even Nebius having a little bit cheaper rates temporarily. But I wouldn't count on it for much.
Look, man, I think in the last pod we talked about AI with NVIDIA's circular investing. And the question was, is OpenAI becoming too big to fail, or is AI becoming too big to fail? And I think the sort of more macro esoteric question is the entire, global system too big to fail? And the answer that I come back to is absolutely, because it's not like, oh, we're going to have a big recession or we're going to have, a huge drawdown. If in fact there comes to a point where we collectively have to face the music, like that's going to wipe entire generations of people out. Like you're going to have a huge reset and probably a global conflict and all these things that are associated with it as well. Is that going to happen this year or next year or maybe in the next 5 years, next administration? Probably not, because everybody is going to do their utmost to push the problem out. But the more they push the problem out, the more they exacerbate the problem. We had a feature that we were building right now, and because our co-founders, essentially, when the company was super, super small, decided to build the quick solution and not the sustainable solution, they introduced inadvertently some tech debt. And in order for us to pivot and to build the correct solution now, it was I had to have a meeting the other day where I was like, guys, you need to have 2 months of re-architecting with an engineer working additionally, just to walk us back from that decision we made years ago to go fast instead of going, far, let's call it. And I said, look, if we don't work on this now, that's fine. We don't have to address it. But if we have this conversation next year, it's going to be 6 months of additional work. And so what am I trying to say? Problems exacerbate and they compound over time. This particular problem has compounded over multiple administrations, multiple generations of people. When that does eventually get fixed, let's say, that's going to be brutal. Is it going to happen in our lifetime? Probably it is going to happen in our lifetime, unless there's some huge paradigm shift. But the thing that I'm trying to say is, like, everybody is going to try their best to avoid it as much as possible. But I do think that within the next decade or 2 decades, like, we're going to have some huge wipeouts of people's wealth.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I hope we are able to outgrow, and that this is kind of like the Roaring '20s, where we were able to do that, get our debt and all these deficits and things under control. But it took a tech wave, which we have, and it took a stable fiscal policy, which frankly we just don't have. So, and even with midterms, like, nothing's really going to change. But parties are like, hey, let's spend like crazy on things that we want to spend on. So, since I have kids, I don't want this just to be kicked down the road until it becomes an impossible problem, which it feels like it's close to deal with. Regardless, though, beyond just specifically with bonds, there was one other crypto-related event. Trump and gathered a bunch of crypto leaders there. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, Vlad Tenev, CEO of Robinhood, and many others were gathered there in a very long, rambling presser by Trump. The others had actually very short, cogent speeches. That came about at the same time, is a little bit later in the afternoon, last Wednesday. I have some people, I see some in the comments here, but I saw some people at the time saying, hey, this is the real reason why crypto is running, plus clarity might actually get passed. How much weight do you put on, like, just the bonds being the big move, a catalyst, versus of course Trump talking about openness towards crypto and needing to get this bill passed?
I don't know. Like, clarity is not entirely dead for 2026. It's incredibly low probability. I know Armstrong and Vlad Tenev and all of these other proponents, voices in the crypto industry were pushing lawmakers over their recess to try to get some consensus for when they reconvene in September. Look, man, at this point, I'm in that camp of I'll believe it when I see it, because I have been let down so much by senators and by Congress people. We'll see. I mean, they missed the August recess. A lot of people were seeing that as the end of the road. But you have to look at the incentives, Roy. The incentives are simply that midterms are happening. A lot of these people who are the determining factors, they're going to be fighting for their seat in a couple of months. You think this is the main thing on their priority list? Obviously not. Obviously not. And for some of them, they're like, hey, you know what? If I still have my seat, in a couple of months, I'll focus on it then. I'll pass it then. But the problem is, like, we're at the 5-yard line, and now the entire team is shuffling around. We're going to get some people in maybe that have no context on this. They're going to need to get caught up. They're going to need to, be in the loop around everything. And ultimately, there's going to be some wheels that need to be greased, some side deals that need to be made. And the people who maybe are still in it, like, it's going to lose momentum because you're changing the team, right? That's the best way I can explain it. It's like you're at the 5-yard line, and now you're just changing your entire offensive line. You're putting in a new team in place. Good luck having that same momentum. You're just not going to have it.
So with BM&R, they're, of course, very close to the alchemy of 5%. They did very timely a lot of buybacks at a much lower amount than where they're at right now. Is this, I guess, is this crypto rally durable? Is this the end of crypto winter from your mind? And I know that you sold some BMR. You still have some. I trimmed some as well. I still have some. I even, by the way, still have the hat. I have not put it back out yet. A, is this the end of crypto winter? B, are you doing anything with BMR? And C, is it time to put back up the hat?
I don't think this is. I think this is the end of crypto winter, but I'm going to hold off on making that call for another couple of weeks, because we really need confirmation. But this was a violent move upwards. So that's the thing that makes me confident. Like, we had technical breakouts, you had the 7 Sigma event, you had a pretty sustained move upwards. That's making me excited. At the same time, yes, to answer Elizabeth's question, I sold a third of my BMR position back in like April or May, but I'm still holding 2/3 of it. And I would love to eventually reduce that even further. If and when BMR hits, $30, I think I'll break even or something around that range. It's not even that far away from here. And I'll just reduce some exposure. But do I think we can get there? Absolutely. I think we can get there. Would I be holding BMR until, December, January? I'll probably be looking to cut out in October, September-ish, depending on how violent this rally is and how sustained it is. Of course, this could be just a winter rally, as you call it, and we go right back down next week, in which case this is a moot conversation.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think I would lean actually towards, I think winter is over. Doesn't mean that we go back up to all-time highs, but the historic nature of this move, I think, is telling us something different. Plus, I already thought that by Q4 could have happened earlier, and it looks like it did, that we'd be out of crypto winter. And doesn't mean we're going to go straight up back into all-time highs in the next 3 months. There's going to be moments where it sells off, but I think we've already seen the lows for sure in Ethereum, 1,500. I don't think we're seeing that again. Maybe the market surprises me. And I think Bitcoin as well. We've probably already seen the low as well. So for myself, like, I'm happy to hold what I have. I'm not looking to trim it or sell it. Next year, a year from now, I think that I'll exit BM&R, depending on what the price is. But it was always a 2-year swing. We're just at the beginning of year 2 right now. Another 12 months yet to go. I think that there's a lot of upside here. And in all these different crypto names. And I'm also glad that Bitcoin was my one and only DCA every single week. I just don't even pay attention to the price, buying the same percentage of my income every single time. So, but yeah, I would lean towards probably 85% chance crypto winter is over. The continuation really, like today, more than anything, along with the size and scale, is what indicates that to me. So
it also is like a virtuous cycle after a point, right? If you see Ethereum up every single day, it's sort of like makes you want to buy because you think that trend is going to continue, that hot hand fallacy. Same thing with if you see it down every single day, you want to sell because you think it's going to go lower. And that's just the psychological aspect of, oh, well, Ethereum is up again today. BMR is up again today. Even though it's gone from 12 to 24 in a matter of 1.5 months, you think it's going to go from 12 to 48 in 2 months. Like maybe it can, and maybe you might be supporting that rally upwards by buying in at higher tranches. Where last month it was at $13 and you weren't even touching it, but now you're happily going to buy at $24 because you're like, oh, it's going to 30. It's human psychology at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for the $5. Way to go, Roy. Gotta wear something brighter than your face and blind me out. Yes, blame Robin.
Yeah,
for that one.
my air conditioning down here, I think, is having issues. So I'm running the fan and wearing the lightest shirt that I can to try to. Thankfully, the upstairs one's working, but we got to have somebody come out, take a look. Houston, man. I also see that we have gifted memberships. BL, thank you for the 5 memberships from each of us. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Bill. All right. So let's talk
So is it
about
time for the hat.
No, not time for the hat yet. We got to cross, let's call it
30, 35, 40.
I was going to say 40, but yeah, we can make it 30. We can make it 30. Let's cross
35. We'll split the difference.
Okay. If we cross 35, when we cross 35, the hat comes back. If we cross 40, Roy has to wear it every stream going forward.
Oh, goodness. It is a nice hat, but all right. Beyond, of course, what's happening with bonds and everything, there was some interesting releases. I'm sure that you saw this. I think you actually tagged me in some of these with Nancy Pelosi and certain investments. One in particular that relates to data centers. Well, actually, a couple, and some trades from Trump as well. Tevis, anything that stood out to you that was interesting from these?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi bought Bloom Energy. And I think there was Bloom Energy calls for next year. I think they were June 2027s for $100 strike price. So deep in the money call options for Bloom Energy.
Yeah. Intel as well was a big buy. 12 million worth of Bloom Energy. And of course, this is very related to data center plays. This is as Nebius shifted over from the Bergen engines, what they could not be permitted. Instead, they shifted over to Bloom Energy. Supposedly, they're sold out of capacity all the way through this year, but energy is a critical need and resource. Does this change your mind related to anything on the data center trade?
Not really.
Yeah,
I mean,
same. I'm already bullish, so.
Yeah, exactly. I also saw some fund buying, like smaller funds buying Nebius as well, and super investors. Like, hey man, this is where the waves are going, right? You got to swim with the current, and I'm not surprised that politician. I was surprised more with Trump's trades, honestly. Like, first of all, this dude made over 1,000 trades in the last month under his name. What is going on here? Day trader Trump. And then second of all, he bought Visa and I think MasterCard was the other one.
He did, yeah.
But yeah, so you got Buffett that's selling, these credit card companies. Trump is buying them. Like, that's more difficult to make sense of. Pelosi buying Bloom is just another day at the office.
Yeah, but the Buffett one makes absolutely no sense. I mean, like, you can look, I guess you can close your eyes and try to find enough problems of buying like Visa, MasterCard being bearish on finance and fintech. But I mean, every indicator for quarter four, especially after midterms, is that these are going to perform exceptionally well. It's one of the reasons why I have a video that a lot of people didn't like the title that I sold SoFi and I bought Nubank or sold Nubank and SoFi. I bought Figure. And I did, but it was just all options. I'm keeping all the stocks or the shares the way that I had them. And I clarified that very early in the video. So you always know right who had watched the video first before commenting and those that didn't even watch that just commented. But regardless, like I was like, okay, I don't really want to reduce my fintech bucket. I don't want to reduce my financials bucket. I don't want to reduce my crypto bucket. All those things I think will be doing very, very well. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Like it would be one thing I think if I didn't clarify like within the first 30 seconds exactly what's going on, but yeah, it's true. It's just, it's not that I sold everything. And like me saying I flipped options on, like people wouldn't know what that meant. So like, well, But yeah, regardless, I'm like, it makes no sense for me anyway to like reduce exposure to that, even though I have a ton, especially through Robinhood and SoFi positions, and now Figure as well. So the Trump buy of Visa and MasterCard, it makes a lot of sense for the exact same reasons. Versus, I have no idea why Buffett does what he does. So
It's not even Buffett anymore. It's Greg Abel, but
yeah,
you know,
Abel, yeah.
Yeah, what's next? We got a bunch of topics, man, to get through.
NVIDIA is one of those. NVIDIA, of course, is looking to get into Perplexity, and it's, I think, at a 41 times sales valuation. It was, it's a small amount, but it's interesting. Like, NVIDIA increasingly is becoming like a mini AI ETF. Of course, NVIDIA has earnings that are coming up. It's a $30 billion valuation that they are supposedly in talks with. So we'll have to actually see, but this is one where it just further reinforces what bears, and I mean, frankly, we both have to acknowledge the circularity of the revenue. This is one where NVIDIA is backing a bunch of AI companies that build on NVIDIA infrastructure and run on the data centers like Nebius and CoreWeave. So is it circular? It sure is. I don't know. It doesn't really surprise me at this point. I do kind of question, like, NVIDIA makes a ton of money. They're reporting earnings, of course, Wednesday after the hours. For me, it always marks the end of the earnings season. I know there's more companies that will still report and everything. But with NVIDIA, either with this move or with earnings, what would it take for you to become an NVIDIA investor, Tevis? Because the valuation, you can't say the valuation is an issue.
No, man. I'm happy to be in. If I got put shares of NVIDIA today, I'll happily hold them. It's not that. It's just, I don't know. I owned NVIDIA earlier this year. There is nothing against NVIDIA that I have. I agree with you. They are sort of becoming like the Berkshire of the AI trade. Yeah.
So you don't own NVIDIA, but you do have Nebius. Is there anything that you think that NVIDIA says or does that will impact the data center trades for us, either during earnings or just shortly after?
I think everything NVIDIA says is going to impact the AI trade, man. Like, it's going to be a bit like every 3 months, the market comes together and it's on Jensen's shoulders to save the market. Otherwise, we all fall. And every 3 months, we have the same exact report. NVIDIA knocks it out of the park, and we're all shocked at how this company can still keep doing this at their size and scale. It happened last quarter. It happened the quarter before that. Like, every time. I don't know, when NVIDIA will stop putting out stellar numbers. That's going to be a pretty red day for everybody involved. But I'm sure that there's something in the commentary that Jensen can say with regards to data center build out. I don't think that there's going to be anything Nebius specific, and there's nothing that's going to move Nebius relative to the others disproportionately off just generic commentary.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Of course, everybody's going to stay glued to that. It's going to be fascinating. And whether I was an investor or not, I'd be paying attention to that one. With NVIDIA last quarter, obviously I was very wrong. I thought that would be the quarter that NVIDIA would actually start moving. Not because results changed. Everybody knew that they were going to be great, but because of the two narratives that were basically paralyzing stock action had weakened. Yet we're still here about the same price as well. So Tevis, is this time different for NVIDIA? Are we going to see it actually start moving up this quarter? Or is it just going to be a stable coin throughout the rest of the year?
Well, last time NVIDIA reported earnings, I remember we had the stream and you said that they were going to fly up. But the fact of the matter is that NVIDIA, while it usually is up in after hours, will then sell off in the following days. And I think that trend has held true for the last several quarters. Look, man, I think NVIDIA can go higher. Where do you want it to go? Like, it hit 236 earlier this year as the peak. It's at 208. I mean, started off the year in the 180s. It's done. It's moved. Like, you can compare it with Meta, and then Meta's down year to date. NVIDIA, if I look at it right now, it's up 10%. It's underperforming the index, but it's also $5 trillion. Sure, can they move up? Absolutely. Can they go and form a new base around the 230s, 240s range for the end of the year? Can it hit 250? Yeah, sure, it can definitely do that. But I wouldn't be expecting fireworks from a stock perspective for NVIDIA. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not in NVIDIA, is because I will take the leveraged bets that benefit off the back of NVIDIA's efforts, let's call it, or ecosystem. But NVIDIA itself is a steady Eddie. It's a stablecoin NVIDIA, baby. It'll go up, it'll go down, but generally speaking, it'll climb higher, but it's not going to double anytime soon.
I mean, like, I thought it was going to be last quarter. So I have no idea at this point. It is cheap. I don't know if you realize how cheap it is, Tevis. I guess Meta is cheap. We're going to talk about Meta here in just a second, the Meta trials. Okay, so I'll give you two. Well, maybe I won't do it this way. So Meta's PEG ratio is 0.8. What do you think that the PEG ratio for NVIDIA is? This is for the next 12 months.
I mean, now that you mentioned it's cheap, I'm going to guess lower than 0.8. 0.6?
That's too high. It's lower.
That's insane.
0.5.
It's crazy.
Forward price to earnings for Meta, it is 17.5. What's the forward price to earnings on NVIDIA? Offer your guess.
15.
It's 20, so it's higher than you'd expect.
Okay.
But
Okay.
20 for a company that's growing like this. The rule, like, we'll have to see. They may have post like a rule of 150. Not too many companies can do that. It's ridiculously inexpensive, like ridiculously. And this is one too where, unlike a lot of the hyperscalers, which investors have concerns about their free cash flow, they have concerns about their capex. Nobody has concerns with that with NVIDIA. So enterprise value over sales is like 11.3 over the next month. It's stupidly cheap. I don't know what it's going to take to move the stock, because obviously it's not the results. Like, they could have a PEG ratio of 0.1 and it would feel like that the stock is still just going to stick there. So I don't know. I'm holding my position. I actually did reduce, if you recall, my position a little bit on NVIDIA, not because I was bearish, but I just wanted to buy that CoreWeave dip when it fell into the 70s. And maybe we're heading back to the 70s with CoreWeave. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sort of in this. I'm looking at the option chain right now as Roy was saying all that. Should I write in the money puts for NVIDIA over earnings? That's the real question. And if I do, what I'm looking at right now is September 18th, which is 25 days out, and maybe running 220 puts. That pays me about $16 of premium. 204 average price. It's not the worst thing in the world. If NVIDIA falls, then I'll just write a couple more. If NVIDIA rises, then I can sell to close, or sorry, buy to close them, maybe 50% or so in the green because the IV crush. What do you think?
Actually,
Brett?
that reminds me. I did not, because I've been careful with NVIDIA. Most weeks I don't end up selling covered calls against it. I should look at the options chain because I've not done that today. Usually I do that on Monday, but I was busy. So, but yeah, I mean, like, if you want to own NVIDIA, if you have an attractive level, like 190 or something, or even in the money, or at the money, like, why not? Like, the yield will be very nice. And then, like, it's maybe not as volatile as some names, but like the IV is very attractive too if you're just looking at it to like will. But
yeah, I mean, like, at the money, a month out is about 5% return over earnings. That's pretty good on NVIDIA, you know?
And of course, with NVIDIA too, I'm sure you saw the news that they were going to raise prices by about 15 to 17% on Vera Rubin and Blackwell for products that ship early next year. That, of course, does have an impact on data centers. I had my thoughts. I wanted to ask you on this too. Like, I'm thinking that it's not really going to. I think Nebius is completely fine, and I'll let you explain why, or I can if you'd like. With Koryev, I think that they're also fine. It's not quite as clear just because they don't have the advantage of the super short-term duration contracts. Both have allocated through the take-or-pay long-term contract with Meta. Some of their Vera Rubins, it seems like Nebius has done more than Koryev on that one. But regardless, they've already received Vera Rubins. They already have them online. Doesn't mean they have all the Vera Rubins. And it would be hard for me to imagine that they would do these long duration contracts that are take or pay without some sort of pricing range from buying from NVIDIA. Beyond that, Jensen has a vested interest for both of these companies doing extremely well. I doubt that he would do these pricing levels in a way that would hurt those two companies. I think it's more, with all the hyperscalers that want to buy Vera Rubins, everybody wants to buy Vera Rubins. It's like, well, you can, you just have to pay more. And a lot of that's passing through the cost of what they're having to do for memory.
I don't know what the question is.
I
agree with you.
Does the raise of NVIDIA for their Vera Rubins and Blackwells negatively impact Nebius positively, or it's just kind of whatever?
I mean, look, if anything, it impacts them negatively because the cost of their cost of goods sold, or the raw materials, let's call it, their inventory is going to go up. But in reality, I don't think it's going to be impactful because that's going to get forwarded through to the end party, and maybe even with an added premium on top. We're seeing the raw materials increasing, whether it's memory or across the board, GPUs as well. That's going to keep happening. If anything, it means that the end consumer is probably going to end up paying more because LLM subscriptions are going to go up, or they're going to get shrinkflation, where you get less for the same price. Right now, like I got so annoyed with Claude the other day, man, because it's 5 hours up from 4 hours, and now it's like every query is so expensive that I hit the 5 hour limit after like 5 back and forths with Claude Code. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. This makes sense. I think it's only going to get worse from here, right? As those raw material prices go up, that gets forwarded to the data center, the NeoCloud, and that gets forwarded to the third party hyperscaler, let's call it. And then that gets forwarded to you and me in the form of either higher payments or less value for the same amount of money that we're paying. All in all, it doesn't really impact the NeoClouds negatively. Yes, on paper, but when you actually do the math and see how much are they charging per megawatt hour, you'll see a bigger premium. You'll see higher costs that they're paying, higher revenue that they're making. Margin really is going to stay the same.
Yep, I agree. The last bit of news that I saw that we had wanted to cover or talk about was Meta. Of course, Meta, this is the week. They actually started last week, the trials. Go ahead and touch that one.
I mean, thank you for the $2. My mom and neighbor just got their Vera Rubins. Congrats to them.
So with Meta, the trials have begun. This is something that can last multiple weeks. Of course, at some point, Zuck himself will be on the stand. Any thoughts and implications? Because I know that you're a Meta shareholder.
I don't know if you saw the latest news around this, Roy.
Probably not.
I don't think you did, my friend. Let me see if I can pull this up, actually.
I follow that Meta news pretty closely.
Well, it's, again, I live for the drama, dude. Thank God I wasn't born a white girl, because this would be me with reality TV shows. I'm born a stock nerd, and this is me with GTA 6 leaks and Meta trial news and equally useless information that lives in my head. But let me pull this article up, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Yes, here it is. So we have had on Tuesday, I believe it was, or Wednesday, we had one of the teens that was involved in the social media addiction test case has magically dropped all of their claims against Meta, Google, and Snap with no payment involved. The case was one of 3 bellwether trials selected from 3,300 consolidated losses to help gauge how juries may view similar social media addiction. 2 October test cases remain. So you had one of these main people essentially be like, oh, sorry, I want to back out of this. I don't want to, accuse Meta anymore, which is obviously very, very strong for Meta's case if one of the teens in that case is all of a sudden backing out. I mean, there's been no indication of a payment. There's been no indication of any foul play or anything like that. But I mean, come on. What do you think, Roy?
I mean, that's what I would suspect initially, is that there's some sort of blackmail or payment or something like that. But I mean, a payment's probably pretty likely. Why else would you, especially going in? I don't think anybody is looking into this and hey, Meta's going to get through this scot-free. They're not going to have to pay anything. That's very unlikely. The 1.4, it's less likely than the 1.4 trillion being paid out, honestly. So it feels like that there's something else going on here. Now, we don't know who this, we don't know the situation. It could be a variety of factors. It could just be as simple as, some people he knows talk to him and nothing nefarious. They're just this, do you want to be known for the rest of your life by this? Maybe, but a little payment can go a long way. So it's hard for me to say, hey, nothing nefarious. They just changed their mind. It's no, something happened. So.
Yeah, I mean, somebody check their crypto wallet for this person, any suspicious payments coming in or out. But I think it's good for Meta, man. If you're thinking about this company being charged multiple hundreds of billions of dollars, and all of a sudden one of the 3, core people drops out, that's huge news for Meta. Here was the second. Yes. Here was a second piece of news for Meta.
Hold on. Throw up cheese balls. Yeah. Just a couple of Ferraris in front of their house. Yeah, they fell off the truck randomly without a scratch on them in front of their house, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, cheese balls, for the $2. Here's the other news around Meta. Okay. We got news that the states are seeking $200 billion from Meta over the social media addiction claims. So this is semi-recent news. Meta trial in California isn't a $1 trillion threat. That's the statutory maximum that Meta calculated to show how ridiculous these lawsuits can get. States are asking $200 billion. Historically, now this is the important part, Roy. Historically, when U.S. courts face such high maximum asks that can threaten the functioning of the economy and the entire business landscape, they tend to award damages up to 2% of the statutory limit, or 20% of the damages asked, whichever is higher. So the statutory limit, from how I'm reading this, is $1 trillion. 2% would be $20 billion, or 20% of the damages asked is 20% of $200 billion, so $40 billion, whichever is higher. So probably they're going to be looking to settle around the $40 billion range is how I'm interpreting this. Look at the settlement in the writer's lawsuit against Anthropic and New Mexico Meta, and you'll see this rule of thumb. Stop confusing people by spreading misleading headlines. This is, of course, replying to Gary Black here, who's looking at a $1 trillion. We all said that this is not going to be that drastic. All of a sudden now, Roy, if we're looking at $40 billion as a potential payment or as a potential settlement, that doesn't look so bad. That doesn't look so bad, right? Because we anchored ourselves so high, 1.4 trillion, and then 1 trillion, and then 200 billion, and we ended up at 40 billion. I don't even think they're going to pay that much, because if you have another plaintiff sort of falling out of the process for whatever reason, this case gets really weak really fast. And especially with the judge, which we've talked about who the judge is and how grounded they are in terms of being neutral. I think you can end up paying much less than that. And if, of course, you do end up paying much less than that, then Meta is significantly undervalued because it's artificially held down by this looming trial.
Yeah, I'm rooting, of course, for a lot more damages, but I said in my worst case scenario, 50 billion. So It's not far away from the 40 billion there, and that's just for the state side. So could we see a little bit higher than 50? Yeah, but it's going to be paid over a number of years. It's not going to really impact the business. Biggest impact, I think, is actually going to be what they might have to change as far as the algorithm, or at least in their approach towards young people. I did see, Meta was, of course, trying to say, oh, we weren't trying to addict any young people. It's a very similar argument as what tobacco has said with young people. Is like, yeah, they don't target, or and they may not, but there is an impact there, certainly. And that 200 billion, by the way, I didn't see that before, but that is actually very similar to the 206 billion that was awarded by Big Tobacco to the states. So I don't think that amount was necessarily just napkin math or drawn out of a hat. It was not random at all.
This is really interesting. I haven't read this before. Meta presented discovery evidence showing the teenager in question averaged less than 10 minutes per day on Facebook and Instagram. That would be staggering if that were the case. That entire lawsuit premise collapses, essentially, because the whole premise is that this person got addicted by Meta's sort of amazing mouse wheel or fly trap.
You can manipulate statistics so easily that yes,
maybe
Meta would be filing for Chapter 11. I see a legitimate use for adults of the product, but yeah, I almost like New Zealand's approach. I don't want the state to parent in lieu of parents, but man, it's so damaging. I would guess as far as Facebook, I don't know exactly what that evidence is, but it could just be, hey, let's take the average of all teenagers in the United States, including those that don't use social media, and so then they use less than that. I expect, with Facebook, there's not many young people in that at all. Instagram is a whole different animal, and I think they'd have a hard time arguing that has very minimal impact.
So, very quick, the jury doesn't decide in this trial. They're just advisory. The judge ultimately decides in this particular trial format. We can also bring up this Alex Wang's tweet about watermelon. We can talk about Meta at length. It's something that I'm getting more and more into. But
and I'm a hater, so
and Roy just doesn't want me to make money for some reason.
I want you to bought Palantir at 107, but you're like, no, I gotta buy the dip on Meta.
Oh yeah, because Palantir doesn't do anything nefarious at all.
They don't.
Okay, let's move on.
They don't. I even addressed some weird rumors that people had on Flock and Palantir, and a lot of the sentiment towards I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I'm not, but a whole lot of I feel like what's happening with data centers. There's some grassroots stuff. So I'm not saying that there's no local concerns, that there's no legitimate concerns, and there's no grassroots stuff related to data centers or Palantir, but there is a lot of adversarial parties, not necessarily even nations, but there may be as well, that would love to see the United States at least stumble. And if you have a product that is working incredibly well on the commercial, but even more importantly, U.S. government and military, with Maven Smart System, with Palantir, look in case in point what it did in Ukraine, and by the way, they're not being used by Israel as far as Maven Smart System. But hey, how do we get that to slow down? You do everything you can to try to discredit it. And that's also what's happening with data centers. If we end up not building data centers, what's going to happen? We already talked about to GDP and to the whole AI arms race. That's going to shift somewhere else. The United States will not be in the epicenter of that, and we stand to benefit. Not that there aren't problems, not that there aren't things to figure out, but the misinformation and the claims that are out there on both of these, it's very similar, and there are bad actors, whether they're whole governments or just individual entities that are just running these massive smear campaigns. And you see this time and time again when there's something that's working very well. So that's not if one of you guys are in the comments and you have concerns about any of these things, that, fair enough. But I'm just saying there's a lot more than just individual grassroots momentum. It's a lot more than that, Tevis.
I mean, I started as a joke because I thought that the irony was very evident. But like, dude, you understand we're talking about legit software that the military uses for intel. Yes, it does protect the
Targeting.
sorry?
Targeting. Maven Smart System.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying, like, it's even more explicit, but like, unless you are saying that no government should ever have any kind
I'm
of
not
targeting algorithm, software, or whatever, like, you want the best. Of course, you don't want to aim at U.S. citizens. You don't want to be used nefariously or anything. And I can see why some people wouldn't want to invest in Palantir. But what I'm saying is, like, no, there's not anything like nefarious here. People are like the thing that I saw, and it just, well, I'll just show this image here.
hold on. Because okay, I love you. Please don't take this conversation personally. We're just debating, okay? Look, I understand I honestly think that's such a thin defense, man, to say targeting. It's like saying like, oh, yeah, Raytheon that's making these missiles is just for what, humanitarian purposes, but somebody else is pushing the button.
Oh,
Like,
I'm not
no,
saying that.
the software is leading to enemy combatants, bad actors, whatever, people at the end of the day to lose their lives. Yes?
Yes. Oh yeah.
People
To
who
be
are
unalived.
people who are fundamentally misaligned politically, from a worldview perspective, but because of what their thoughts are and their actions or their intentions, governments are using Palantir software to find them wherever they're hiding so that they can eliminate them. Are we do we see the same picture?
Yes.
Cool. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yes, Meta is creating software that can entirely ruin people's lives. It can make you hooked. It can make you depressed, lazy, suicide, whatever, everything, all at once. But it's not creating software to take lives.
And there's a lot more to the even just Gotham than Maven Smart System for Palantir. But no, they do have a role in national defense, and like, if people are not comfortable with that, they shouldn't invest in Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, or in this case Palantir. But what I'm saying is, like, this right here, like, throw this up. This is what I've seen like everywhere, and it's so crazy, and it's by a lot of these major accounts. This is 1.6 million views, and you'll see in just a moment, like, this whole feed. There's hundreds and hundreds of posts just from verified accounts that are literally saying, in some cases, the exact same words. And it's not just a case, Tevis, of like people saying, hey, let me do the same thing so I get a lot of clicks, like what happens when we're impersonated. There's more than that going on. So they say Palantir just released, false, this is Maven Smart System. It's existed since like 2018 or something like that. Actually, even before, because it was under Google, they switched over to Palantir with that algorithm. A new surveillance system, false, it's not a surveillance system, that fuses satellites, radars, and every camera into one time tracker of people and movement. Also false. This video is actually from March, and it was from AIPCon, I believe. And it's nothing new. It's not a new release. And then they have this. We have to consider the probability that with Flock, which I'm like really opposed and against, and I do not like Flock, and sadly it's all over the place in Houston. I oppose that. I hate that. And they're like, hey, Palantir and Flock, there's this connection that they're trying to draw because there's so much hate against Flock right now. And frankly, I get the hate against Flock.
What's Flock?
And then within this, like, you can see post after post. And a lot of them start off with, this is terrifying, by the way, alarming. And some of these are tiny accounts. And they all say exactly the same thing. Some of them are massive accounts too. And it just, like, if you want to say, like, this is just all organic and not bots, I mean,
sorry,
I guess I have oceanfront property in Nebraska to sell you.
Roy, what's Flock?
Flock? It's a system of cameras that basically set up, used by law enforcement, usually to be able to track and identify vehicles and also individuals. And so basically it takes a snapshot of license plates and vehicle descriptions, and they can use that basically to track people's movement. And that data is supposedly stored. It depends on the locality. They've reduced the amount of time it can be stored. Only 7 days, but it can be stored 30 days. It can be stored 90 days or whatever. Supposedly, it's only used for bad actors, but it has been used in a number of ways that are just like so sketchy. Even here in Houston, there was a number of police officers that were put on probably paid leave, sadly, because our system is kind of broken, because they had very inappropriately used this as a way to surveil people that were not, there was no warrant or anything like that. And so, like, it is a surveillance system. Palantir is not a surveillance system at all. And there's no connection. Like, the one connection people are drawing is they're like, well, Peter Thiel owns both. It's like, no, he was a co-founder of Palantir, sure enough, along with Alex Karp. And his venture fund, which funds dozens and dozens and dozens of companies, also has invested in Flock. Does that mean, like, that doesn't mean that Palantir is being used by Flock? In fact, they have both denied that they're being used by each other. Like, Palantir is like, no, this is actually diametrically opposed to the mission and mandate of Palantir. Flock is. And I would never own at any price. Like, I think Flock is way worse than Meta. Just horrible and horrific. And maybe some people love it, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But Palantir is great.
Peter Thiel, funny enough, was also a super early investor in Meta or Facebook, way back in the day. So maybe that's the connection to all. I'm just kidding. But look, man, at the end of the day, it comes down to, hey, if you have a problem with what Palantir is doing or what Meta is doing or what Flock is doing, like, you don't have to invest. You just don't. And that's it. Like, but similarly to how, like, I think Palantir and Flock and all of these, like, there's a really thin veil of trust that people have to say that, oh, well, Palantir's software, their military capabilities, their targeting systems, their whatever integrations with Flock or whatever, all of these are going to be used for people who are against us and not for normal people. Or like, that is a really thin level of trust, I would say, that can always be abused. And look what we've seen with governments in the past. It has been abused multiple times over, and nothing really happens. But ultimately, people, I think, have sort of, this is interesting. I think people generally have this like impulse gut reaction to whenever they feel their personal liberties are trampled over, because deep down, they've willingly given up their personal liberties for social media, for all of these different forms of entertainment or satisfaction or whatever, right? So if I'm an avid social media user, deep down, I know that I'm being monitored, or that companies like Palantir or governments or whatever, like, can monitor me whenever they want. But whenever an article comes out that surveillance cameras are, I'm up in an outrage, you know? So I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Anyways, let's keep going. We got a super chat here, so I want to address it. On a serious note, where do you see CoreWeave going, Roy, in the short term? Keep lifting those weights. I don't know. I think that's to you.
It might be to you. I don't know. Like, short term, it's weak for whatever reason. I don't think that there's much pressure for it to go down below 80. In fact, this might even be like a local bottom again. Some of the selling price action, which we didn't even talk about, was Citadel, of course, ended up getting those situational awareness bags, which included heavy positions in our favorite two data center plays, Nebius and CoreWeave. And then there was an announcement last week that they had unwound 80%, I believe, of those investments, just to kind of de-risk them and, of course, take massive profits along the way. Not a big surprise, but whenever you have that, even if it's done on the dark markets, or dark pools, not dark markets, it still has an influence on price action. Plus, the whole AI trade itself has been a little bit weak since that point. So, like, could we see in the 70s? Yeah, we could see it. I don't think for very long. So I'm not concerned by it. I'm not concerned with it. It was a great report, and I'm just like, the biggest weakness in CoreWeave that I am concerned with, the biggest bear case, is that memory prices crater, because CoreWeave uniquely has memory price floors on memory, and so if all of a sudden the price caters, they're paying a higher price than anybody. We're seeing the opposite on every single RAID that we have on memory, and so it seems like that's going to be something that persists for years down the road. I don't know when that ends necessarily, but yeah, I'd be a little bit surprised to see it be much below this for very long. And thank you for the jewels, 380 and 350 OGB. Appreciate it.
Sorry,
You ready for Q&A, or is there anything else that we haven't hit yet?
Finger heart. Let's see. Is there anything else that we haven't hit yet? Look at our chat. Trump v. Canada. Do we want to talk about that? Hornet's Nest?
I mean, like, up to you because you're Canadian. Are we going to war with you? No. Trade war. And are we, like, the funniest thing, which, you know, was, of course, a myth, and I think Courtney was trying to play it, was that we were really focused on what Quebec did as far as language and culture. And it's like, this seems weird to me. I don't think this is real. And I think it was just Cardi trying to galvanize the base. But what are your thoughts? What happened? And are you concerned?
Jeez, Highland, what are you doing, man? 50 memberships. I think this is Highland paying off the trade deficit here between these countries. Holy, 50 memberships, man. I think every time we get a 50 membership from Highland, I have to go ahead and make some membership videos now. So thanks for adding more work onto my plate, Highland. That was very generous. Wow. Okay, trade war. I don't even know what to think, man. Like, I have thoughts. I don't know how much I should say about those thoughts, unfortunately. But a lot of what we're seeing on this side of the border is that you guys were the ones that backed out. I don't necessarily think that that's the case. Just trying to look from an incentives point of view. I know that there was very strong opinions, let's say, around the censorship stuff with regards to Netflix and streaming, all the way down to like us, you know, because I'm a Canadian streamer, they want to be able to have control over that so that they can, quote unquote, promote local voices or promote local narratives. There was also this that I want to throw up here, which is kind of some confirmation. But again, you have to keep in mind the source as well. But let's play this and give this a quick listen.
Sure.
Difference of view.
You speak French,
I do speak
James?
French. I do.
So
I really
you don't
value
care whether
French.
they change some of the language up there, whether they make it.
No, I mean that was a funny fake story, and I don't think that. I mean that I speak French too. My kids speak French. One of my kids was born in Paris, so I like the Quebecois, and I like that they speak French. What we don't like is a situation where Canada, the federal government, forces American tech companies to take their earnings and give a percentage to their competitors in Canada. But I understand why the Quebecois declined.
Do you
We had a
speak
difference
French?
of view.
You speak.
So basically, there was all of these different reasons why Canada backed out in the last second. And here, this is the U.S. trade rep who said that Canada was not willing to walk away because of the Netflix stuff, because of the fact that the government up here wants to control essentially what gets promoted, and this digital, I forget what it's called, the digital tax on streaming, that a lot of the companies, even back in 2025, just flat out refused. Like, do you know, like, if you're up in Canada and there's like a Bloomberg article or there's some type of article here they want to open up on Instagram, I just can't open it. Like, I can't see it. They're like blocked. It's like, yeah. So again, I hope it works out. I think it's kind of silly to sort of pick a fight with an economy that's like, what, 14 times or a population that's like 14 times your size, and more delusional even to think that you're going to release retaliatory tariffs and think you're going to win. And the people here are nothing if not delusional. So, I mean, look, man, all the power to them. But I think they're going to end up poorer as a result of it. And I think cozying up to China is not going to help the case. That's just one person's opinion. And we'll see if the stream gets taken down because I said that, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Mounties are coming after you, I guess. So,
I guess they're going to use Palantir to get me.
yes, yeah. I see a donation from Kryptonite. He says, "Thank you for the $10. Thoughts on Everpure, ticker symbol P, reports this week. Also, remove whoever asked the last question. Capitalism." All right, so last question. Go ahead and delete that one. Thank you for the donation. So Everpure, I don't really understand what they do. I know it's data storage, that there's some sort of differentiation there. I don't really know enough about the product or the company. What I do know is storage is of a critical need. So I think I pulled up the ticker just to kind of see how it has done recently. It's been up quite a bit. It's retraced a little bit here as well. I like the only thing that I can really see is people are either saying, with everything in this space, it's just cyclical. I would ignore that. It is cyclical, but this is a hyper cycle right now, and that looks durable to me. The storage might be the first thing that's in the supply chain to actually be alleviated, more so than memory and more so than, of course, power. But that's still a ways off. I don't know the product well enough to like say where these guys are going long term, but yeah, they've got a lot of growth ahead of them. So like, is it expensive if you look at some of those multiples? Almost certainly. Like if you look at SanDisk, extremely expensive as well, but it's growing incredibly rapidly. And so the biggest question is how durable is a cycle? And on the storage side, I'm less confident as far as a duration versus like memory specifically, but it has a while to go. And even when one other thing I'll say on this is even if you say, well, it's not going to have as long of a hypercycle as memory and GPUs and everything else in semis, that might be true. But if you're looking at agents and agentic traffic, like not only is there a huge need for inference, but also a huge need for storage as well with all these different bots. Like if what Matthew Prince, CEO of Cloudflare, is saying is correct, that we're going to 1,000 times non-human traffic that's happening on the internet in the next 5 years. So I don't know what specifically, but what's happening in this space is really exciting.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody asked Grok. They were like, because the premier of Ontario, which is like the governor of our province or state equivalent, said like, oh hey, like, you know, we'll pick a fight with the US. Somebody asked Grok like, hey, what would happen if the US shut down this pipeline to Ontario? And it would be like half the province without electricity, thousands of jobs lost, like just basically decimation. And then in the reply, they asked, what would happen if Ontario shut down the export to the US? And it would be like, and I think Grok's response, I wish I saved it, was like, oh, 0.5% of the total is what is accounted for there. Maybe some brownouts here and there, but like nothing serious. I'm like, guys, like, can you please read this? It's just, you don't understand geography if you guys think that this is a winnable fight.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's really a lose-lose, and I hope things get worked out.
I agree. That is the political answer. Let's go into Q&A.
Yeah.
All right. What's an investor that we admire and why?
Manuel, because he's contrarian and he gets it right a ton of time and does a lot of due diligence and doesn't like hype and say this is the next 100 bagger or whatever. So MV Kuna.
Yeah, I'll go Peter Lynch. Yeah, Highland says Peter Thiel because he invested in both Meta and Palantir.
Yeah, no, Lynch is amazing. Yeah, I was thinking about greats, but I was like, let me talk about one of the new guys.
Yeah, speaking of one of the greats, Dr. Burry.
Yeah, not Burry. I admire many things about him, but yeah, recently he's
Yeah.
the opposite of the 100x guys, the next 100 bagger. He's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. An investor that I admire really is Mackenzie Bezos, because if you look at where she got in, where she got out, that's one of the best investors of all time, man.
Yeah. Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. Favorite quote? I don't have one. Roy can pull something out, but I don't have one.
Yeah, nothing is coming to the top of my mind. Usually, just as they come, I'll spit them out. So,
Yeah. Wow, people are saying us. That's nice.
oh, that's so nice.
What are your thoughts on Keel and the potential there?
It's it's one of those smaller data center plays. Yeah, that's not the robotics firm, right? Am I confusing it?
No, they're a data center company.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, there's another one that starts with a K, KTOS. I was like, let me make sure I don't confuse the two. The smaller data center plays probably are higher reward, but also higher risk. And what I mean is, like, if you look at the price, like I just pulled up Kill right now because I don't pay attention to it too closely. It's down massively from where it was just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know exactly why. It may just all be macro related. The challenge is when you're a much smaller player in the space. CoreWeave has 51 sites, and so if one of those that they're working on in the future gets delayed, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. If you have 1 or 2 or 3 sites and you get delayed, or you have to shift locations entirely, that's really, really bad. Now, the other thing too is, like we saw today, or not today, but last week with NVIDIA, the Vera Rubins, they're raising their prices. And Jensen, I'm sure, like, if I don't know Kill well enough to say, like, are they buying like AMD products or NVIDIA or one of the ASICs or what, but they don't have pricing power. They don't have these privileged relationships that put them at the top of the supply chain. And so there's risk to that. But again, it just, if you're comfortable with the risk reward, higher reward, I would say, but also higher risk. And so just kind of know what you hold and follow it very closely as well. If they're executing well, you may make a ton of money compared to CoreWeave. But if they don't execute well, it could go to zero.
That is the case with many companies, yes. Semi-breaking news. Did you see this? I mean, I guess maybe not because we were on stream. The SEC has reportedly subpoenaed banks over situational awareness. So because Leopold blew up, now the SEC is getting involved. And the plot will thicken, my friend. I don't know what's going to happen here next, but we have an SEC probed for situational awareness after the near collapse, saying they subpoenaed major Wall Street banks for information on trades and leverage tied to AI-focused hedge fund situational awareness. This is the New York Times reporting this. Regulators are seeking details on the timing of the trades and communications with lenders after the fund suffered a sharp drawdown last month and was forced to sell most of its stock portfolio to Citadel at a discount. Oh, buddy. Can you imagine they get Ken Griffin for they're not, but can you imagine they do?
Yeah, he's a huge donor. Citadel is as well. I think more on the Republican side. So but yeah, they have to investigate. And so, probably nothing will come out of it, but we'll see. Was there market manipulation? Very likely. I mean, we know some of it, like with what Citadel was saying prior to the Fed minutes in the Fed meeting. So
this is, in fact, Love Island for me. You are absolutely correct. All of this drama, all this gossip, it's just great, man. It's just great. All right, let's move on. Was Meta talked about? Yes, it was. Rewind to the 58-minute mark. Is now a good time to buy BMNR? Roy, what do you think?
If you're long term, yeah, it's probably going to pull back. Like if you look at how much Ethereum has run and also BMNR, things don't move up in a straight line, and even in a crypto winter, it does not as well. So, I would if I was looking to get in or add, I would write cash secured puts here.
I think that's a good way to go about it. Anybody who really cares about this, just release the game for GTA 6. Dude, this is like the most pre-ordered game in history or something ridiculous. It took over a decade to make. This is very, very consequential, especially for Take-Two, which is the parent company. Do we need to start looking at a firm? I'm seeing buy now, pay later everywhere, even on flights. I don't think that's a good thing that you're seeing it everywhere. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't like pure buy now, pay later companies. And I would never really want to own one. But yeah, I just pulled it up right now just to take a look. And year to date, it is basically flat. Forward price earnings is 21. Peg ratio is a 10. But I mean, the peg ratio here I'd take with a grain of salt. Max Levchin, of course, is an incredible leader, but I don't like the pure buy now, pay later. And I feel like there may be some regulatory pushback on the buy now, pay later firms, which ends up impacting a firm, but they'll be okay. I just think that there's better opportunities out there.
Yes. Roy sold SoFi and New for Figure.
I sold all of my options, which would have expired in January, from Nubank and SoFi, and bought Figure Leaps. So no shares were sold. I did buy some shares of Figure, but that was, I think, the day of earnings. Maybe it was the day before. 50 shares.
Mm-hmm.
So not much. But yeah, I bought $40 strike leaps. I also have some 30 that are deep in the money. The 40s, like Tevis, it was so awesome that I made that move because we talked about it on a Friday.
Yeah.
And I had the whole weekend to kind of think about, am I really that convicted and then underweight on Figure? And like the answer was yes. And so I ended up buying, and Figure was up like 3%. It had a very good week last week. And so it was one of those where usually when I buy like that, it just falls and it keeps falling. And then eventually it rebounds and it all works out. And this is one where it's like, man, I'm really glad I bought when I did. So
yeah, it was good timing.
It's also helped by the crypto basket lifting up, even though it should not. The price of crypto really doesn't impact the company much at all. So, but the market's dumb. I'll take it because it's dumb in my favor.
Yes. Are we adding to the CoreWeave dip yet?
No, I'm over allocated, so it's tough for me to buy unless it's meaningfully under my average. This is under my average for shares. My leaps are still up, but yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can find this.
At a certain point, like unless you're wanting to go all in or like really make an outsized bet, you have to figure out what allocation percent you're good with, and then just kind of leave it there. That's where I'm at with CoreWeave because it's with price action of that, and then of course all the crypto and fintech names. It's probably like 16% of my portfolio, maybe 17%, but that's over allocated.
Yes. We did get another donation. Mexico City Manuel says, Justin, listen to Trump or he'll build a wall. Justin's not even... Thank you for the donation, Mexico City Manuel. Really appreciate that. He's not even the guy, but I mean, just goes to show how much the world gives a shit. Let's move on. Express Investing says we have to play chess. Maybe if there's time at the end. Do I speak French? No, I do not. What's the news on the Onda stock tank? Are we going to host the Meta stock tank, or is it too mainstream? Don't forget to like and sub. Yeah, no Meta stock tank. I would say it's too mainstream.
It's too meta.
It's too meta. Yes, exactly. On the stock tank, yeah, might have to give that one a little bit of time. I think we might have to find a new guest. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. We wanted to see if a new time would work, and it didn't. So yeah, that was on me, guys. So.
Yeah, but it's still something that we are both very interested in, and
Yes.
we're still invested in making that work for a future show. So stay tuned. If there are other people that you guys think would be great, then just DM me or Roy, and we'll reach out to them.
Yeah, this is. I agree. Like, I'm fascinated by it, and I have a lot of questions too. So, yes.
Nebius closed their private offering. Please break down and simplify what the numbers mean. Are the terms well negotiated? This sounds like a separate video that we're going to do. But yes, just very quickly, Nebius did close their offering of 5.75 billion. We'll make a separate video on this. At least it's on docket for me to talk about. This was 4.5 billion. It went up to 5, and now it's at 5.75. So definitely oversubscribed in terms of demand, which is good. What you want to see in terms of the terms. I mean, you have them here, but I don't want to spend. We only have 20 minutes left on this show, so I don't want to spend all that time.
I have Data Center Weekly that came out yesterday, and I did talk about it during the Nebius news. Broke it down, showed what some other people had posted too. So yeah, go check out that video. You can use Gemini as well to say, hey, when does he start talking about Nebius specifically in that? It'll put you right to the time stamp. Gemini is like so useful with YouTube. Fiscal AI, is a sponsor of some of my videos. And so I'll sometimes forget to timestamp it. And so I'll just I'll pull up the video. I'll say, Gemini, when did this guy, me, start talking about Fiscal AI sponsorship? And it's like right here. I'm like, click. Okay, good. All right, perfect. It's also great for timestamps. So.
Yes. Let's see. I want to buy those 2030 CoreWeave bonds from my high income portfolio. Do you think they're as safe as CoreWeave have take or pay contracts?
I would think so. Yes, I would rather just invest in CoreWeave directly, but I mean, like, they are pretty attractive. You're getting like a close to a 10% yield. They are rated junk bond for a reason, but I don't think it's because the market seriously thinks that CoreWeave is going to go bankrupt. But it is a model that is not as mature as, like, say, the energy plays. So I think it's fairly safe. The take or pay. I actually pulled up the 8K because I was curious on like pricing levels, if they could change that depending on like the component prices. Like if NVIDIA did pass through that cost immediately on the quantity of air ribbon that they're expecting to receive and then issued a meta. And the answer is no. Like that contract language, from what we can see in the 8K, is extremely firm, and there's basically no way outside of, and you can pull up the 8K itself. I encourage you to do that if you're actually going to buy the bonds. Look back in April. There's two different 8Ks that came out at the same time. One related to debt issuance, and the other right before it, the take or pay with Meta.
Yeah. We got a donation from Highland who says BMNP, the preferreds or junk debt? Good question. I mean, it's like basically they're the same thing. It's like one is the other one. I'd go BMNP.
Yeah, I do BMNP too, but it depends on like who. Like, not all junk debt is created equal. I'll just say that.
Yes. Thank you, Highland. Again, ETH going up from here. Yes.
Yep.
Hey, Rob and Teggy. Who the fuck is Teggy, dude? Oh my god. What stocks do you expect to run up with Anthropic IPO? Similar to Rocket Lab, space players with SpaceX. Are neoclouds the best positioned?
I think they're positioned well. Yeah, we talked about that, I think, last Friday, or wouldn't be a Friday, but last Monday. They may run in sympathy when we get closer. Anthropic's going to be kind of like SpaceX, putting out a lot of different numbers. It does feel like that they want to rush that IPO, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But there's been a lot of shift, like from the frontier models to a lot more interest in the open weights, open source. A lot of news from China and also from NVIDIA on that. But no, I think that the neoclouds are best positioned for that run, but also know what happened on the other side too. I don't know that data centers would like dump and go retrace completely after the IPO, but if it ends up running and you make up a lot of money, it never hurts to take some profit.
Yes. Yeah. Peggy is my cat's name. The other thing I'll say is that I think one interesting parallel for Anthropic's IPO is to see how Amazon trades, because Amazon is the biggest holder. I think they own like 20% of Anthropic, something to that effect, if I'm not mistaken. So if Anthropic is going to be commanding a higher than $2 trillion IPO, which it's looking more likely that it will be upwards of $2 trillion, biggest IPO ever, Amazon's going to trade higher on that anticipation. Will they trade off on the news? I'm not sure, but that's the one I would be looking out for because of that exposure. And I mean, it's not a secret that they own so much. Just look at their last earnings report.
For sure.
But I don't think the neoclouds are going to trade lower because of it. Like, if Anthropic does really well and the numbers look very strong, neoclouds should trade up, because how do you think these AI labs are going to be getting all that capacity? It's going to be the neoclouds. So it's not as close of a parallel to Rocket Lab and SpaceX, because they're competitors in many respects. Okay, let's see. Am I bullish BMNR? Yeah, I think we can see it rising in the immediate short term as Ethereum rises. Like I said, I'm going to be looking at it for September and October, and we'll go from there. Hi, Roy Ants Tevis. I'm thinking of selling a commercial property worth around $3 million. Congratulations, Express. What would you invest in with the money?
I do like a mix of bonds and like very conservative stocks. The reason why is, for me, if you're actually making 3 million, you're banking 3 million off of that. 3 million for me is my number. Like, at the rule of 4%, it's 120,000 per year, adjusted for inflation and in perpetuity, basically. So I would be shifting to very conservative. If this is at or near or exceeds your long-term goals, I would probably be very conservative, more so than like full port Nebius or something like that. But if it's not, like, I mean, figure out like your favorite tech stocks, and when your portfolio is larger and you want to be more defensive, even if you don't want to be like super passive and like invest in boring dividend stocks and bonds and stuff, that's fine. Diversification, I think, when you have a small portfolio and you want to grow, it doesn't make any sense. When you've already hit your goals or you're like well on your way, it does begin to make a lot more sense, even though you may not, perform as well as if you just concentrate on your topics, but it also protects you from some of the downside too. So just make sure to have like both sides of the coin there.
I'm going to start calling you Scott BESSENT from now on, the way you're liking these bonds. But bonds is not something I would ever buy. Express. I would probably
ever
no. I don't see the appeal, man. I just think that bonds are like bonds will always lose out to inflation.
Well,
like, okay, forget about
government bonds, maybe. Corporate bonds are different, and there's some very attractive corporate bonds. Like right now, you can look at the hyperscalers and be like, okay, is Google actually going to go insolvent?
No. I would buy corporate bonds. When you say bonds, I think government bonds.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, fuck, boomer.
I mean, like, ironically, I think a lot of the hyperscalers are going to be more solvent than the U.S. government. So obviously, the U.S. government goes down, they're not going to do well either. But I'd rather do the corporate bonds with the hyperscalers. So that's what I meant. So thank you for,
yeah. Okay, corporate bonds are a different story. I would still stick to hyperscalers. Maybe a good mix of SPY and the Qs. I wouldn't get too crazy with it. Again, 3 million, to Roy's point, like, that's a good retirement right there. Again, I think the other piece here is, if you're thinking about having a business or investing in yourself in some way, shape, or form, I would also consider taking a portion of the money and doing that.
For
Like
sure.
you can easily buy yourself a passive dividend portfolio, or something where you pull out 5% a year or 7% a year, and you buy yourself retirement early. But also considering buying yourself something that you enjoy doing, I think that's a worthwhile pursuit as well. Like if I have a business and I'm like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I would need startup capital or whatever the case may be. Like, yeah, I would probably try that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and don't forget to set taxes aside on your sale.
Ooh, yeah, good call.
Okay, thoughts on Cerberus?
It's I went through the whole earnings call and everything, and honestly, I was kind of bored out of my mind, which is weird. It's the first time I've listened to the earnings call versus like read the notes, and I think in the future I'll just read the notes. I think the product and the company is really interesting. It feels like it's early to like even consider for me and like investing, but it's on the radar for me just because they are a differentiated product. So I'm going to be watching them over the next few quarters and just seeing if something has changed. I think it's a little early yet. And I'm not, and it may be one of those where it's a good business, but not a good stock. Not sure. Do you have any interest in Cerberus?
No. Next
Cerberus,
question.
I always say wrong.
No. Next question. Buy a boat and enjoy life 100%. I agree with that. I like that.
Unless you're seasick.
I like that. Yeah. Buy a beach house first and then consider buying a boat. Do that. Let's see. To what extent is triple-digit growth for NVIDIA already priced in? Every time we think NVIDIA has helped save the bull market, we tend to see NVIDIA itself and other affiliated names go down. This is a great question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if there's any number or anything that they can report or do that'll change it. But I also think that we can say, well, they haven't moved in a while, and so they're not going to move again. And that's not a guarantee. Palantir, of course, they had earnings that just knocked it out of the park. But they also had a tendency to not do very well, like recently on earnings. And so people were expecting that. And I said, hey, don't be so sure. This time might be different. And it was. So I have no confidence that it's going to be different from NVIDIA. Last time I was pretty confident. And so, yeah, some of it's priced in, but you look at the multiples. Obviously, there's a large amount of skepticism on the durability of this AI movement.
Yes, I didn't have anything to add there. Which do you prefer, AMD or NVIDIA for a long-term hold? Depends on what your goals
long-term
are.
NVIDIA.
Okay, I'll take that. Short-term AMD, long-term NVIDIA.
AMD is very expensive. They're going to have a massive revenue ramp, but even then, like, they're so expensive compared to NVIDIA. So short-term NVIDIA, long-term also, like, which is the leader there? Which is the one that is being smuggled into China? Which is the one that obtains equity rather than giving it up in these deals? It's NVIDIA. AMD is a great company. Lisa Su is a great CEO. Jensen and NVIDIA are generational.
Yes. Well, actually, since we're on that question, let me dovetail into this question. Erica asks, most of your audience is male. Have they considered the possibility of a woman as the top job of a CEO? Of course, Lisa Su is the number one that comes to mind. Roy, who are some other top female CEOs that you can think of? This is, I think, what Erica's asking.
I mean, like, there's honestly not that many unless you really go down. So, like, Bumble, I believe their CEO, but I can't even think of her name.
Whitney Wolfhard.
Yeah. Like, I am kind of curious if, like, at one point Amy Hood from Microsoft, she's a CFO. Like, if she has ambitions of being a CEO, I think she'd make a very good one. She's excellent. Like, she's one of my favorite CFOs. But like, Lisa Su is the only one that comes to my mind, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, Lisa Su is, and And I mean, Lisa Sue's been in her role for a long time, so definitely at the top. Elizabeth Holmes, sure.
No. Okay, I've heard of Elizabeth Holmes, but yeah, no.
Yeah,
Never
yeah. No,
animals.
I think we need more women on top, man. But it's a tough job. It's pretty grueling, I think, at times, especially for a public
Yeah.
company. So, hey, said what I said. If you did not have a position in air, at what price would you buy the stock?
If I had no position at all, right now it's in my fair value range, so I'd actually buy a little bit here, and then I'd probably write puts, maybe at 75. It's not financial advice, but it's for the monthlies next, which it could fall to, but they're very attractive premiums too. But that way I'd have some in case it started running up, or they have that big announcement, which I think might be AMD that they talked about with the Fox XP systems that they've been selling, or the engineering qualification rather. There's a lot of indicators that it's if it's not AMD, it's somebody like AMD, and I can't think anybody else that it could be. So in a way, I've invested in AMD. Not really.
Wait, so at what price would you buy the stock?
Here. I'd buy a little here. Like I'd look at DCAing through cash secret puts, but I'd buy some
Yeah.
here.
I think there was another AMD or Air question here. Average price is 114. Do you average down or hold?
Yeah, so I have a much lower price average, but I'm happy with the amount that I'm holding in my portfolio. So I'm not looking at averaging up, even though I do think that long term it'll be great. So basically, I would look rather than the price. I think that's the wrong measure, and then the cost average. Look at the percentage or how your portfolio is broken down. If you're like you have a huge conviction in air and it's like 3% of your portfolio, you average down. If you're like, hey, I'm 50% air, you do you, but it's more mature of a company than it was, a year ago. But yeah, I wouldn't make it 50%.
Yeah. Joshua says, great to have the show back on. Thank you, Joshua. Another great female CEO, Bill Gates talking. Yeah, Phoebe Gates. Kim Kardashian. Her sister, though, wasn't she like the youngest female billionaire? What's her name? Kendall, Chloe, one of them. Courtney. They all start with a K. Kanye. The young one.
Yeah.
She's created a beauty product. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know.
Yeah, no, she's done great. I can't think of her name either. Taylor Swift too. She's not a public CEO, but like
Kylie.
Whatever you think about her music, my daughter loves it. But like, she is great with business. Like, she is great. I'm sure she's surrounded herself with a god of talent too. But my goodness, like, kudos to her. Kylie. That's not it, right?
No, Kylie. I think it's Kylie. Hi, okay. Robin and Triangle. Thoughts on UiPath?
I don't think that they're really differentiated, but I've not kept up with the company since 2023. So maybe there's something that they've issued. But yeah, the process mining was their main thing back in 2023, and it looks like another product. People. Maybe it's cheap. It's caught up in the software thing too, but I've not kept up on it. Do you have any thoughts on UiPath?
No, I don't invest in it. I don't know too much about it. It's just, it exists.
You won't buy Palantir, so why would you even buy Path? It's a little different.
I'm allergic to things that make me money.
Oh, I thought it was just tickers that started with a P.
Hey man, I own PayPal at one point or another. So let's move on. Are you bullish memory stocks? Are we invested in memory stocks? And by the way, thank you, Express Investing, for the 20 New Zealand dollars.
Bullish, not invested. Like, all the AI trade stuff is kind of connected. So there's different ways to play it, a lot of different ways. I don't want to go 100% into like the AI trade.
Micron's pretty nice though. Kind of like it.
It is. It's very attractive. I wouldn't mind owning it, but I also don't want to sell anything that's in my portfolio that's related to AI, so I'm probably not going to buy it.
What about oil? it's a heavyweight to any long pieces. I did get rid of my VG, but it was super small position. It was like 1% of the portfolio. And I looked at the premiums that I'd made from it, plus the capital gains, and I think I'd made like a 20% return on it in 5 months. So I was like, you know what? I'm happy to get rid of it. It was just taking up like mental space. So I'm no longer in oil. I know you're in VG.
Yeah, LNG, so a little different than oil, but like it's the same sector.
Yeah.
I prefer LNG. I think that's going to be there's a lot of tailwinds like for everything energy, but the way LNG is positioned, it's pretty clear to me at least. I like VG. I like Next. I don't own Next, but I will continue to own VG. I had leaps that I've sold and taken profits on. I have shares remaining. I actually trimmed some of those to buy more CoreWeave, but I still have a chunk, and I don't plan to sell
them. Cool. And this one we answered. Do we believe Nebius gets a deal soon? And thoughts on the raise? I made an article on this, Roy. I don't know if you saw or not, but
the deal. Yeah, I did. You tagged me, remember?
Yeah. Well, you're the reason I made the article because you asked me a question, and I was like, "Is this Roy or is this like a bot asking me this?" Like, "Oh, very interesting. Would you want to share your thoughts on this?" I'm like, "This doesn't sound like Roy," but I made this article. Yeah. Nebius is setting up for a big new deal. Here's why: it can be Google. If you haven't read that, go read it. It started out as a long post. It ended up being an article, but that's basically my thoughts on if Nebius can get a deal.
And really nice raise, I'll say, for them. Very nice.
Are we building up my cash? Yes. So I did sell VG to build up my cash holdings. I now have about 10%, close to 10% in 8% in cash. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with where that is. Obviously, if you were to layer in the cash secured puts commitments that I have, if everything got hit, my cash would be like negative 8%. But as it stands, I do have some buffer. Are you building up cash, Roy?
I should be, but I mean, not meaning. Oh, I mean, like I'm not buying. So like the premiums that I'm making and the money that's coming in, yes, but I've not sold anything since that big figure buy. So
yeah, that worked out for you. We're at the 2-hour mark. We have about 10 questions left. I don't know how you feel.
Let's speed run them.
All right. Thomas asks, I often see price to earnings and PEG being used as a benchmark, but there's little conversation regarding forward versus trailing versions of these ratios. Thoughts on when to use what when? I think forward generally is always better.
Yeah. PEG ratio, just be careful, like when, and also PE, when something is brand new as far as profitability, or if you're using forward, but there's like 3 analysts that cover it, that's not enough of a sample size. So there's a lot of different ways to value a business. Some of it depends on the sector. A lot of it just depends where they are in the growth curve. So don't get married to like only one valuation, like you use PEG for everything, although I do think it's great. And then I really like next 12 months out of these two. You can go a little bit further, especially with PE. I think PEG is a little bit more speculative when you're looking at longer than 12 months.
Whatever confirms your bias. Chess. I don't know. It's up to Roy.
Probably not today, but Friday. Yeah.
Matthew says, do you guys think there's going to be a drawdown this year due to midterms or earnings? Or is earnings
Probably.
that good? We'll continue. Earnings is very good, but there's going to be a drawdown with regards to the uncertainty around midterms. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you close to buying Corning?
No, I like it, but there's several others that are in the space that I'd be more interested in. And again, like it's my buy on that. I know they do more than just that. It's because of what's happening with the chips and photonics as well. So like let me back up. They're related to the AI trade and what's happening there. And I like the percentage of my portfolio that's dedicated to that. There's nothing I want to sell and buy some other names. I am interested in them. I will, monitor them as well. But yeah, I'm not going to buy here. I like the concentrated portfolio.
Are we going to see 1.3 trillion in AI spend next year? That's all we need to know. Yeah, I mean, it could have even
We'll see
be
a
higher.
lot.
Yeah,
It could be. Just crazy. Yeah, we might be. We're looking at percentage of the GDP that's related to this build out, and we're worried about it at like 3 point something percent. It could be meaningfully higher next year. Probably will be.
Yep.
Did you see? Well, okay. Let me throw up this because this is crazy. This is from. Oh, here it is. A16Z. When you're looking at individual states and the percentage of construction spending, let me actually open up a new tab here.
Yeah, I can see this.
So data centers are driving a large share of economic activity. And so this is over the top 20 states by share. And then you see here, like New Mexico, like percentage, this is gigawatts under construction, the red. And then the estimated percentage of the non-residential construction that's happening in the state. So New Mexico, 60% of their non-residential construction is related to data center. That's crazy. And yet you can see the gigawatts under construction, very small. Wyoming, same thing. And then you look up here, like Texas is a crazy outlier where this is the amount of gigawatts, more than anybody that's being built in the state. So that also tells you like what to think about Governor Abbott and that pause. But then like the percentage is just so small because like the Texan economy is just crazy. So
yeah, Texas, man. Am I gonna buy more Figure or more Service Now? I love how you say more on either of these. Like I own either of them. But Service Now is at 128. I like it. Figure is at 38. I like it. I don't know that I'll be buying any at this point right now.
I need to pitch it to you with the stock take episode. And
yes, that is the best. That is the best course of action. You need to pitch it to me, and Figure needs to fall back to 24, and then I'll be like, yeah, why not? I'll do it.
It should have never traded that low, but yeah.
I'm more curious on how this crypto run will last. Yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Yeah, if this is the end of the winter, I think the 4-year cycle is well intact. So like the bull run's going to last another 3 years.
Yeah. If Elon delivers at the Tesla September event, will you invest? Probably not.
That's more valuation and how much is priced into the future to me than anything. But I'll pay attention, and I love Tesla, but yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I would love to hear what Roy and Tevis think about SMCI. They must be looking at a separate exclusive chat Q&A. We're not. This is why your name is up on the screen. And in terms of SMCI, well, there's only one of us that holds it in the stock draft. And that person is currently in first place, largely because of SMCI, which is up 46% since we did the draft in mid-July. So they might be a scam company, but they're my scam company.
Man, that micro cap that I picked up, that because I was like, I don't have any names. That's killing me. It's just destroying me. AMG, yeah.
Jeez, that's rough, dude.
Yeah. It's like I spent 10 minutes or 15 minutes looking at it. That's all I know, and I'm like, I'll pick it because none of those pop out. Boy.
Yeah.
I was third place last week, and then bam.
I'm pulling away, man. I'm pulling away. And Nate was right on my heels, and now he's not anymore. So, yeah. Service Now, 24%. Palantir, 33% for me. Too bad I don't own it in real life, as Roy would say. All right. let's keep going here. Should investors trim now because of the impending dip that's coming, then load the boat for the end of the year rally? Seems obvious. If it was obvious, everybody would do it, man, and cease to be obvious anymore.
So like this goes back to like the time in the market is better than timing the market. And like, so case in point, this last week, you can look at crypto and be like, oh man, September is usually bad. We got before midterms, and it'll probably be like mid quarter 4 when we start running. You never know. And if you pull it out, you miss like the 10 best days in the market, like you've missed all the gains. So it's easy to say, hey, let's. Now, I don't think it's wrong. Like if you're up massively and you want to protect some of the profits, or if you want to hedge or something, or you want to have cash for a potential dip, that's great. But like, so trimming, yes, maybe. But like some people might interpret that as like, I'm going to sell like 80% of my stocks and just get into cash. That's almost always a huge mistake. It can sometimes work out, but man, better to hedge, better to trim, better to have a little cash to buy the dips. But it does seem obvious. I agree. That's the danger.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look, I mean, you guys already know what I'm doing. I am raising cash. I'm closing out my cash secured puts. I did close out my CoreWeave covered calls today, Roy. Didn't post about that one on X. My Rocket Lab cash secured puts are going to be closed fairly soon here. They're at $65 for 2 weeks from now. So if we do get a dip, I'll have plenty of room to act on that, whether through cash or margin. But I'm not really selling any long-term positions. I'm just maneuvering in the short term in my cash tolerances, let's call it.
Yeah.
All right. Sherp asks, anyone else hating this overall market volatility?
It's great for option sellers. I'm just saying, great.
It is.
But like, Sherp, like on a serious note, a lot of people do. And like, it's tough. Like you look at you and you're like, man, I'm killing it this year. And then 3 days later, all the gains are gone. And that's unsettling. It's not fun. This is a very volatile market. There's a few ways to kind of handle that. One is, be quicker to take profits and bake some of those gains, or hedge if you have a large amount. Or I think what's probably better is if you're a long-term investor, not a trader, not a swing trader, anything like that, that's fine if you are. Buy the names you love and check the market less. Don't be like Donald Trump and do like 2,000 trades in a quarter. Buy and hold what you love. Don't worry about the price action and focus on if like the thesis changes more so than the changing price action.
Yeah, I am an option seller, and so I love this volatility right now. But if you hold things you're comfortable holding, then every dip is a discount, and every discount is a potential buying opportunity. Of course, NVIDIA is going to tell the tape for this week. We will be back on Friday after NVIDIA has reported. And, hopefully the market is still alive so that we can have a fiesta Friday and play some chess. And if it's not, then we're all going to suffer together, and it's going to be a therapy Friday. Thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate starting off the week like this, especially after a little bit of a longer hiatus, which feels weird to say that, but we didn't have a Friday show and we didn't have a Saturday show. Did we watch the Odyssey? Yeah, I thought it was kind of... Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Odyssey, yeah. I have not seen it, actually. Did you say you saw it or not?
I saw it. It was kind of bleh. It was okay.
Okay.
It was not like... It was hyped up to be like the best thing ever, but...
Yeah, I maybe see 2 movies in the theater per year, and it's mostly because when my kids want to go see something really badly, then we'll go. So that was Spider-Man, and I think that the next Into the Spider-Verse, which are amazing, by the way, even if you're not an anime, those are such good films. I'll see that one. I think it's supposed to come out in the fall, but that'll probably be it for me for the year.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway, man, she is timeless, that lady. She looks good in anything. But that's a story for another day. Thank you, everybody, so much. Happy Monday. See you all on Friday. Good night.